What's up guys, Sean Nalawani, SeanNal.com. And in today's video, we're talking about wrist pain on the bench press. This is not the most exciting subject in the world, but this is a pretty common nagging injury that a lot of lifters end up with, especially as they progress to heavier and heavier weights. And it is something that I do get asked about regularly. So in this video today, I'm gonna be giving you 4 quick tips that you can apply if this is something that's been bothering you. And even if it isn't a problem for you right now, these are some tips that you can use to make sure that you're benching with proper form so that it doesn't happen to you in the future. So tip number 1, and probably the most important, is to make sure that during the bench press exercise, your wrists are in a neutral position. When a lot of people perform the bench press, they end up bending their wrist backward like this. And not only does that decrease the amount of weight you can lift, but it also puts a lot of stress on your wrist joints as well. So when you do your bench presses, make a conscious effort to keep your wrists straight. And also when you grip the bar, make sure to grip it along the lower medial portion of your hand rather than gripping it higher up here like a lot of people do. When you set the bar too high up, that makes it a lot easier for you to lose that neutral wrist position. The second tip is to adjust your grip width. So when you grip the bar too wide or too narrow, your forearms and wrists can end up bending excessively inward or outward, which also decreases your strength and it puts more strain on your wrists as well. Now everybody has a different body structure with different limb lengths, so there isn't one absolute grip width that's going to apply to every single person, but the bottom line is to experiment and to find the grip width that causes your forearms to be vertical at the very bottom of the exercise, and you want your wrists and elbows to be directly stacked on top of each other. And if you really want to be sure about this, then one thing you can do is to actually videotape yourself to check your form and to make sure that everything is lined up properly. So those are really the 2 main tips to get rid of bench press wrist pain, and they both revolve around keeping your wrists neutral. Neutral from front to back by gripping the bar lower on your hands, and neutral from side to side by keeping your wrists and elbows vertically in line with each other throughout the lift. You might need to slightly lower the amount of weight that you're lifting while you get used to this new gripping technique, but you're gonna be far better off in the long run if you go about it this way. Now aside from that, if you've used both of those tips and the pain still isn't going away over time, another thing you could experiment with would be a pair of wrist wraps, which are basically just pieces of cloth or leather that help to stabilize your wrists and keep them straight. Now keep in mind that wrist wraps are not a substitute for proper bench pressing form. So even if they do take some of the pain away, they aren't going to treat the underlying cause. So I would say to only use wraps to give your wrist a chance to heal and to offer some extra support while you work on your form and you work on fixing the underlying root issue that's causing the pain. And then the other thing is to consider, or the other thing to consider, is to actually just swap out the standard barbell bench press altogether, at least temporarily, and focus exclusively on dumbbell presses as your free weight horizontal pressing exercise. Dumbbells overall are a more joint friendly exercise because your wrists can be angled into a more natural position rather than being locked into a fixed position on the bar. And you can even do them using a neutral grip with your palms facing in if your wrist pain is especially bad. Keep in mind that from a pure muscle building standpoint, there's actually no absolute necessity for barbell presses in the first place. And if your main goal is centered around hypertrophy, I would say that dumbbells are actually the better choice anyway. A dumbbell press lets you work your pecs through a larger range of motion because you can actually bring your upper arms further across the front of your body, which is what the actual function of the pecs are. And then because it's an isolateral movement where each side of your body lifts its own weight independently, you're able to train each side of the pecs equally so that you don't end up with any size or strength imbalance. Not to mention that dumbbell presses are generally easier on the shoulder joints as well. So if you want to do regular barbell bench presses, that's fine. But if you aren't a competitive lifter and you're getting a lot of wrist pain from it, then it might be a good idea, at least temporarily, to just take a break from the exercise altogether and to put your focus on dumbbell presses and other chest movements instead. Or just use a dumbbell press as your main movement and then do your barbell presses afterwards when your strength is a bit lower so that you're lifting a slightly lighter weight. So I hope those tips were helpful. Make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. You can grab my complete step-by-step body transformation blueprint that lays out everything you need to know in terms of training, nutrition, and supplementation to gain muscle and lose fat as efficiently as possible by clicking the little icon up at the top of the screen here, or by heading over to btblueprint.com. The link is in the description box. The official website is seannall.com, and make sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram as well. The links for that are also in the description. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you again soon.